Hi, my name's Julia, and my research presentation today is on sports gambling. Sports gambling can be referred to in many different ways, like betting or wagering. It can be defined as risking money or items of value on the outcomes of an athletic competition. In 1992, the Professional and Amateur Sports Protection Act, or PASPA, was passed restricting states from legalizing sports betting. Sports gambling only became legal in a majority of the United States in 2018, following the Supreme Court ruling of Murphy v. NCAA. In this case, the NCAA, NFL, MLB, NHL, and NBA teamed up against New Jersey, who was regularly practicing sports betting in their casinos in Atlantic City, and tried to sue them for violating PASPA. They were not successful because PASPA was in violation of another law called the Anti-Commandeering Doctrine, which deemed the PASPA unconstitutional. Now, sports gambling is legal in 30 U.S. states. Sports gambling can occur online or in person. There are many different ways that a person can make a wager on an athletic event, like a competition, race, or fight. There are many forms, but all involve predicting sports outcomes for a profit. Some forms of sports betting include moneyline, over-under, parlay, proposition, live betting, run line, and win place. Now let's discuss some of the ethics involved in sports gambling. Even though sports gambling has been legalized in many states, it's regularly criticized for its ethicality and opposed by players, teams, organizations, and even fans. If there's a chance that money can be gained by an influence or change of performance, then fairness and integrity are no longer guaranteed. Teams and organizations could come across ethics issues that include fixing games, information trading, like if a coach or player switches teams and knows and shares information that is not already publicly known, as well as corruption within the organization. Fans can question the legitimacy of the game, as well as the environment switch from being family friendly now that gambling is involved. Some fans have even proposed restrictions on sports betting advertisements. Bettors could develop gambling addictions and start exhibiting risky behaviors. For example, a few years ago, there was somebody that bet that there would be a streaker at the Super Bowl, and in order to gain money, they were the streaker at the Super Bowl. And they not only put themselves and others at risk, they also got arrested. Lastly, we can look at the ethics of the casinos and sports books as far as legality. They're not doing anything wrong. Sports betting is legal, but just recently in Baltimore, the casino was caught targeting customers they knew were susceptible to gambling addiction, and this is not legal and it isn't ethical. Gambling addiction can also be referred to as gambling disorder and could be described as a repeated pattern of betting that continues even after causing distress in one's life. It can lead to financial issues, neglect of responsibilities, and emotional distress. It's been reported to be more closely mirroring opioid or alcohol addiction than any impulse disorder. Nearly 8 in 10 Americans believe gambling addiction in the U.S. is as serious or more serious than other types of addiction like alcohol or drug addiction. By combining gambling behavior with a special interest like athletics, it makes it more enticing for an individual who may not gamble otherwise. 48% of men 18 to 49 have reported having at least one online sportsbook account. Since sports betting is now available on apps like DraftKings and FanDuel, it's much more accessible and instant than ever. Around 90% of sports bets last year were placed on an online platform. Addiction in sports gambling can increase the likelihood of unethical behaviors like insider trading, fixing games, and corruption within organizations, especially with the increase of a big win of money. Since the rise of sports betting in 2018, Americans have begun to question the legitimacy of sports that they once loved to watch. While many organizations like the NFL are openly against sports betting, they still allow their players to bet on non-organization sports. In 2025, an NBA player was charged with a federal offense after underperforming and faking an injury to fix a bet. This raises concerns about the ethicality of players and teams when it comes down to making money on these bets. Another issue is refs betting on games. This can be a real concern as they don't have to fix the entire game for someone to win big. In cases like live betting, one moment can change someone's chances of winning or losing instantly. Some college players have reported refs betting on games and or fixing games in order to help somebody win a bet. Let's talk a little bit about how sports gambling has affected college sports. In January, federal authorities indicted 26 individuals in a college basketball point-shaving conspiracy. This was involving more than 39 athletes across 17 different teams. The NCAA, athletes, coaches, and staff are not permitted to bet on or provide information that could influence a bet, and students are required to undergo compliance training on these regulations. Sports gambling has changed the way that athletes view their sports too. Similarly to the pressure bettors feel when putting their money on the line, every substitution, possession change, or referee call can become a new betting opportunity, multiplying the pressure points on athletes and teams. College sports are a very fragile space that depend on fair contest, uncompromised athletes, and genuine competition. When this is altered or undermined, not only does the score or win or loss lose meaning, but so does the cultural values and ethics of the institution and the athletics team. With the normalization of sports betting, sports gambling, advertising on TV, and in-app ads, as well as the promotion of influencers, children are taking to gambling as a hobby. Children are forming gambling addictions. In my experience, my own students at my own school, the middle school that I teach at, they are gambling underage. They are speaking about gambling to each other and how much money they've won on gambling. Nearly 2/3 of adults aged 21 and older report participating in at least one form of gambling before age 21, and 23 of which had placed at least one sports bet. What can we do as leaders to help solve this issue? ESPN has released a new series called The Talk, and it was created to bring attention to the growing sports betting addiction issue and promote responsible gaming practices. Some ways that we as coaches and leaders can help to prevent and educate on this issue is to build strong relationships with our players and encourage discussing concerns with them, like pressures and temptations related to sports betting. Educating athletes about rules and regulations and having them complete compliance courses can always help with things like this, as well as talking about policy and codes of conduct that prohibit these types of actions. Creating a system for monitoring and reporting suspicious activities allows them to have a platform in which they can report or speak about these types of things privately. We should be encouraging a supportive and team environment that values sportsmanship, integrity, and well-being of the team. These types of interactions among players will prevent the feeling of wanting to participate in risky behaviors like sports gambling and fixing games. While we as leaders may not have the ability to get rid of sports betting completely, We do have the ability to lead in a way that protects our athletes and keeps our program's integrity and ethicality intact. I have my sources here, and on the next page I've provided a list of links if anybody would like to click on or read more about sports gambling or how it affects college or youth. Thank you for listening to my presentation.